Okay, let's talk about something many older adults experience, often in the quietest part of the night. Have you ever found yourself wide awake at, say, 3 a.m., just staring at the ceiling, wondering why on earth you can't fall back asleep? You might feel frustrated, thinking something is wrong with you or your body. Well, the truth is, this is incredibly common as people get older, and it's usually not just some random annoying habit. In this video, we're going to explore 5 significant reasons why waking up around 3 a.m. seems to be a common pattern with age, and what those early morning wake-ups might actually be trying to tell you. Each reason offers a deeper peek into what's happening with your body, your health, and even your life experiences. By the time we're done, you might look at your sleep habits in a completely new light. These explanations aren't just guesswork either. They're based on how our bodies and minds naturally change as we age. Things most people aren't even aware of. We'll touch upon shifts in hormones, changes in sleep patterns, health issues that might crop up, and even how our emotions and social lives can play a quiet role behind the scenes. And we'll do it in a way that feels honest, helpful, and respectful of the journey you've been on. So if you've ever woken up in the dead of night, looked at the clock around 3 a.m., and thought, why is this happening now? Зрение вы в правильном месте. Stick around until the end, because what you uncover here might not only help you get better sleep, but also gain a much deeper understanding and appreciation for what your body is going through at this stage of life. Let's get started. Reason number 1. Your body is making less melatonin. One of the most straightforward reasons older adults find themselves waking up in the middle of the night, quite often around 3 a.m., is simply because their bodies are producing less melatonin as they age. Think of melatonin as your body's natural sleep aid, or its internal clock regulator. It's the hormone that signals to your brain that it's time to wind down and helps you both fall asleep and stay asleep throughout the night. When you were younger, your body likely pumped out a good, steady supply of melatonin each evening, which allowed you to enjoy long periods of deep, uninterrupted sleep. But as the years go by, that production naturally starts to decrease. This shift can have a noticeable impact on how soundly you sleep. You might still drift off to sleep easily enough when you first go to bed, especially if you've had a busy or relaxing day. But by the early hours of the morning, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m., that natural store of melatonin can just drop too low to keep you in a restful sleeping state. You might find yourself wide awake not because of a loud noise or a bad dream, but simply because your brain is slowly shifting back towards being alert, and there isn't enough melatonin there to keep you comfortably asleep. This isn't something you're doing incorrectly, and it definitely doesn't mean your body is failing you. It just means that your internal chemistry is naturally changing as part of the aging process. To make matters more challenging, your bedroom environment can actually worsen this effect. Even tiny amounts of light, from a street lamp outside your window, the glowing numbers on a digital clock, or even light peeking under the door from a hallway, can suppress melatonin production even further. As you age, your body can become more sensitive to these environmental triggers, which can make that frustrating 3 a.m. wake-up feel even more unavoidable. Take Harold, for example, who's 72 and has always been a good sleeper. Lately, though, he consistently finds himself wide awake around 3:15 a.m. most nights. He doesn't feel stressed or upset, just completely alert, as if it's already daytime. Once he understood that this wasn't some personal failing, but a normal part of aging linked to lower melatonin, he stopped blaming himself. Instead, he started making simple adjustments to his habits. He now makes his bedroom as dark as possible, avoids looking at screens for an hour before bed, and takes a short, gentle walk in the evening to help reinforce his body's natural daily rhythm. These small changes help signal to his body that it's still nighttime. And while he might still wake up early sometimes, he's learned to work with his body's changes instead of fighting against them. Having this kind of understanding can be a real turning point, when you realize that waking up early might not be your fault, but rather a natural chemical shift. You can start taking positive steps to support your sleep instead of feeling frustrated with your body. That's the power of awareness. It can transform frustration into self-compassion and help you make smarter choices about how you care for yourself, especially at night. Reason number 2. Your sleep schedule has shifted forward. Advanced sleep phase. Another significant reason why older adults often wake up around 3 a.m. is due to a natural adjustment in the body's internal clock, a phenomenon known as advanced sleep phase. As we get older, our natural daily rhythms, called circadian rhythms, tend to shift earlier. What this means in practice is that you might start feeling sleepy earlier in the evening than you used to, and consequently, your body is naturally ready to wake up earlier in the morning. You might notice yourself nodding off on the couch during a late-night show or waking up without an alarm clock as the sun begins to rise, even on days when you wished you could sleep in. This shift isn't just a matter of developing new habits. It's deeply rooted in your biology and can become more pronounced as the years go by. In your younger days, your body's rhythm was probably set for a later bedtime and a wake-up time that felt more aligned with a typical workday. But as this rhythm advances, your natural window for sleep moves forward. You might find yourself falling asleep at 9 p.m. or even earlier without even trying, which means your body has already gotten its full cycle of rest by the time 3 a.m. rolls around. That's often why you find yourself suddenly wide awake in the middle of the night, feeling surprisingly rested, even though it's still pitch dark outside. This isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It simply means your body is operating on a slightly different schedule now. Think of it like a clock that's been gently nudged forward a little bit each year, ticking ahead a bit more each season. And while this natural shift isn't harmful in itself, it can definitely be frustrating if your current lifestyle, family routines, or personal preferences don't quite match up with this new rhythm. There's also a quiet psychological aspect to this change. Many older adults live in quieter homes or spend more time alone, and that peaceful environment can amplify the body's signals to start winding down earlier in the day, without the constant noise, activity, or social stimulation that might have once kept you up later. Your system begins its nightly rest process much sooner. And if you're no longer working full-time or following a rigid daily schedule, the lack of external time cues like meetings, commutes, or social events can make this internal shift even more noticeable. Consider Charles, for instance, who's 68 and retired. He typically eats dinner around 5:30 p.m. and watches television for an hour before heading to bed. By 9 p.m., he's usually asleep, and consistently around 3 a.m., his body naturally wakes up feeling alert. At first, he worried he had insomnia, but once he learned about advanced sleep phase, he realized his sleep wasn't broken. It had simply been rescheduled to an earlier slot. Charles started making small adjustments to his evening routine to stay up just a little bit later. He began reading a physical book under warm light, taking a gentle walk after dinner, and sometimes calling his daughter for a quick chat before bedtime. These small social and sensory cues helped gently stretch his natural sleep window just enough to shift his wake-up time closer to a more convenient hour in the morning. The result: fewer frustrating 3 a.m. wake-ups and a better sense of alignment between his body's rhythm and his daily life. This natural shift in sleep cycle is something many older adults go through, but very few people talk about it. Understanding it can remove a lot of the self-blame and confusion and offer a kinder way to work with your body's changes instead of feeling like you're fighting against them. So, if you're waking up around 3 a.m. feeling like you've had a full night's rest already, your body might simply be on an earlier schedule now. And once you recognize that, you can start adjusting your routine in ways that better support your overall well-being. Reason number 3: physical discomfort and health issues. Waking you up. Another very common reason older adults tend to wake up around 3 a.m. is that the body is responding to some kind of physical discomfort or an underlying health issue that becomes more noticeable during the quiet hours of the night. As we get older, the likelihood of dealing with chronic conditions or even just subtle health problems increases, and many of these issues have a way of interrupting sleep without causing dramatic pain. They often creep in quietly, like an aching joint, the urge to use the bathroom, or a sudden stiffness in the back. And that quiet discomfort is often enough to pull you out of a restful sleep state right in the middle of the night. Conditions like arthritis, for example, can make lying in the same position for several hours quite uncomfortable. You might not notice the aches when you first fall asleep, but after a few hours of stillness, that discomfort can build up just enough to gently nudge you awake. For others, acid reflux or heartburn at night might wake them up, especially if they ate dinner late or lay down too soon after eating. Even seemingly minor things like a dry mouth, muscle cramps, a Charlie horse, or a slight change in the room temperature can trigger a light awakening around those early morning hours, when your body's awareness is already a bit more sensitive than it used to be, and less likely to just sleep through discomfort. One of the most frequent physical reasons older men wake up specifically around 3 a.m. is the need to urinate. As we age, the bladder can become less elastic, and the urge to relieve it can come on more suddenly and more often. You might not feel it as strongly during the day when you're busy and distracted, but at 3 a.m. in a dark, quiet room, that sensation can become impossible to ignore. And once you get up and move around, even if it's just a short trip to the bathroom, your body may have shifted from a state of deep rest to light alertness, making it harder to fall back into a sound sleep afterwards. There's also the impact of medications. Many older adults take various medications regularly for blood pressure, heart conditions, pain, or other health issues. These medications often have side effects, things like increased urination, changes in body temperature, or making you more sensitive to noise or light, that can quietly disrupt your sleep pattern. You might not even connect your medication to your early morning wake-ups until someone suggests it, or you start paying closer attention to your daily habits and health alongside your sleep patterns. Consider Eleanor, for example, a 76-year-old woman who has always been a relatively light sleeper. Over the past year, she started waking up consistently around 3:30 a.m. After months of assuming it was just old age, she talked with her doctor. They discovered that one of her regular medications was affecting her hydration levels and causing her to need to use the bathroom more frequently during the night. With her doctor's guidance, she adjusted the timing of her dosage and made a few small lifestyle changes. Now she wakes up much less often and finds it easier to return to sleep when she does. The key thing to remember here is that these physical wake-ups don't mean your body is falling apart. They're actually signals that your body is still actively doing its job. It's responding, it's alerting you, it's adjusting. These signals can be valuable guides, pointing you towards better self-care, more informed health choices, and building a deeper sense of trust in your own body's awareness. Waking up at 3 a.m. might feel like nothing but an inconvenience, but it can also be a quiet nudge to listen more closely to what your body is trying to tell you, to check in with yourself, and to make small, simple changes that can support better health and lead to more restful sleep. Reason number 4, lifestyle habits that quietly reshape your sleep rhythm. Another powerful but often overlooked reason older adults find themselves awake at 3 a.m. stems from their everyday habits. Those small, consistent routines and choices that, over time, subtly alter your body's internal sleep rhythm. Many older adults naturally start eating dinner earlier in the evening, winding down sooner, and often engaging in less physically demanding activities during the day compared to when they were younger. These changes, which might seem minor on their own, accumulate and can send signals to the body that the night should begin earlier, which inevitably means the wake-up time also gets pushed forward. When your days become quieter, especially after retirement, your body no longer relies on the same external cues it once used to set its clock. Things like the start of a commute, the structure of running errands, or engaging in mentally or physically demanding tasks, all used to act as external time markers. Without those strong cues, your body's natural sleep-wake cycle may start to drift earlier. A calm, dimly lit evening with minimal stimulation can cause your brain to begin producing melatonin earlier than before, making you feel sleepy well before 9 p.m., sometimes without you even noticing the clock. And once you're asleep earlier, your body simply completes its needed rest earlier, leading you to wake up in those still pre-dawn hours, often right around 3 a.m. There's also a subtle link between the timing of your meals and your sleep quality. Eating dinner very early, while healthy in many ways, can sometimes lead to a drop in blood sugar levels overnight, especially if you don't have a light snack later. That dip might not feel like obvious hunger, but it can still be enough to rouse your body from sleep. Similarly, caffeine, even if you only have it in the early afternoon, can linger in your system for longer as your metabolism slows with age. This can subtly lighten your sleep depth and make you more likely to wake up from any minor disturbance during the night. Consider Walter, who is 74 and recently retired. These changes crept into his life gradually. His days became less structured, and his evenings were much more relaxed. He found himself having supper at 5 p.m., often falling asleep in his favorite chair during the evening news, and heading to bed before 9 p.m. most nights. Without even realizing it, his entire daily routine had shifted a few hours earlier. Before long, he started waking up consistently around 3 a.m., genuinely puzzled why he was wide awake hours before the sun came up or the birds started chirping. After thinking about his routine, Walter began making small, deliberate adjustments. He started adding a short walk to his afternoon schedule, reading under brighter light in the evening instead of dim lamps, and made a point to avoid taking naps after dinner. These changes helped push his natural sleep window just a bit later, allowing his body to settle into a rhythm that felt more aligned with the wake-up time he actually preferred. It's quite remarkable how often we underestimate the power of our daily habits. Our bodies truly thrive on rhythm. Those consistent daily patterns that act like signals, telling our brain exactly when it's time to rest and when it's time to be active. As those signals weaken or shift because of changes in our routine, our internal body clock can sometimes lose its strong anchoring, leading to sleep that starts earlier, but also becomes more broken or fragmented. But by simply noticing these patterns in our lives and making thoughtful, conscious adjustments, it's entirely possible to gently guide the body back towards a sleep cycle that feels more restorative and less prone to those frustrating early morning wake-ups. Reason number 5. Emotional and psychological restlessness. Coming to the surface sometimes. Waking up at 3 a.m. has less to do with your physical body and more to do with what's going on in your mind and heart. As we get older, emotional layers that might have been buried or ignored due to the busyness of daily life can start to surface, especially in the quiet stillness of the night. Those early morning hours, when the world is silent and there are few distractions, often become the time when unspoken worries, old regrets, unresolved thoughts, or subtle longings begin to stir within us. You might find yourself lying awake, not because of noise or pain, but because your mind is quietly sifting through memories, pondering things you haven't fully processed, or dwelling on subtle anxieties you weren't even aware were still there. This kind of restlessness is different from the intense anxiety you might have experienced in younger years. It's often quieter, more internal, more reflective. It can feel like a soft hum in the background, a sense that something isn't quite settled, even if you can't put a clear name to it. The mind, when it's not actively focused on tasks or distractions, often wanders back into old relationships, past decisions, losses you've endured, or words you wish you had said or hadn't said. And because your body isn't rushing from one responsibility to the next, there's space for those thoughts and feelings to echo a little louder in the stillness. It's also important to acknowledge that loneliness can play a significant role here for many older adults. Social circles naturally tend to shrink over time. Children grow up and move away. Friends might pass away or become busy, and daily routines change, leading to less regular social interaction. The daytime might be filled with light and activity, but nighttime brings quiet. And with that quiet, an awareness of that emotional or social gap. This kind of loneliness doesn't always feel like a heavy burden. Sometimes it shows up simply as a quiet desire for connection, or a faint ache for someone to talk to in the moments when the house is completely still. Consider someone like Gloria, who is 80 and recently widowed. During the day, she keeps herself busy tending her garden, calling her grandchildren, and watching her favorite television shows. But consistently around 3 a.m., she finds herself waking up, her thoughts often returning to cherished moments she shared with her late husband, or to worries she keeps carefully tucked away during the daylight hours. At first, she thought something was fundamentally wrong with her sleep pattern, but over time, she began to understand that her early waking wasn't just about sleep itself. It was her heart and mind quietly asking to be acknowledged, to be heard. To support herself through this, Gloria started keeping a small journal by her bedside. When she wakes up in the early morning, she sometimes writes down whatever thoughts are on her mind. Nothing formal, just a few honest sentences about what's stirring within her. She also added a quiet, comforting evening ritual, like listening to soft music or writing a short note or email to a friend or family member before bed. These small acts of reflection and connection gave her emotions a gentle outlet, which helped ease her mind and allowed her to return to sleep more peacefully. The truth is, the human heart and mind don't always follow a strict logical schedule. They remember what they want to remember. They ask the questions they need answers to. And sometimes all of this processing happens at 3 a.m. when everything else is quiet enough to finally be heard. But that's not a flaw in you. That's a sign of the depth and richness of the life you've lived. If you find yourself waking up in the night and feeling reflective, it might mean you're carrying wisdom, unresolved feelings, or important insights that are ready to be acknowledged and perhaps processed. You've lived through moments of great joy and periods of heartbreak. And those experiences shape not just your memories, but your very sense of self. Rather than seeing these early wake-ups as a problem to be fixed immediately, try approaching them with a sense of curiosity and self-kindness. What is your mind truly trying to tell you in these quiet hours? What do you need to give voice to? What part of you needs a little understanding or grace? Even in the dark, sometimes the most meaningful kind of rest comes not from trying to ignore these moments, but from gently acknowledging and honoring them. In doing so, you might discover not only better sleep over time, but a richer, more integrated understanding of yourself at this stage of life. Bringing it all together. As we finish up our discussion, take a quiet moment to think about everything you've just heard. What points resonated most strongly with you? Was it the idea of your internal clock shifting, the subtle changes in your physical health, or perhaps something deeper, an emotional rhythm that only makes itself known when the world is still and quiet? Each of these 5 reasons offers a different way to look at those early morning wake-ups around 3 a.m. And none of them suggest that there's something fundamentally wrong or broken with you. In fact, each reason reveals just how actively and deeply your body and mind are still working, still responding, still adapting as you move through this stage of life. There's a quiet power and strength in understanding what your body might be trying to communicate, especially in those soft hours just before dawn. Instead of simply seeing 3 a.m. as a frustrating nuisance, you might begin to view them as messages. Gentle signals reminding you to listen a little more closely to your needs, your daily habits, and what's truly in your heart. You are absolutely not alone in experiencing this, and you are certainly not the only one searching for answers about your sleep. But with insight comes strength, and with strength comes the freedom to make small, thoughtful changes that can support better rest, offer deeper comfort, and build a stronger connection to your own natural rhythms. If you've recognized yourself in any of these reasons today, know that you are not just aging, you are evolving. And with that evolution comes a valuable opportunity, a chance to rest more intentionally, to care for yourself more gently, and to greet each new morning with a bit more understanding, self-compassion, and peace. Thank you so much for joining us today. We would genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below and share one specific thing you learned today and how you might plan to use that insight in your own life. Your perspectives are important to us, so please don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments provides us with great motivation and encouragement. If you found this discussion enjoyable and helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who might benefit. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.